Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Mystery Science Theater 3000, episode 1305, Doctor Mordrid. This is the second episode hosted by Emily, and it is episode 222. I really like this one. I was laughing a lot while watching it. I just had a good time with it. I'm a little surprised at how quickly Emily and her crew seem to have won me over. The first one with her, Beyond Atlantis, took me a minute. I was like not used to the kind of what that was like, although by the end, especially with Mother Crabber, which I still listen to every other day or so, that put that on Spotify, please, dear God. I would listen to it even more. Don't you want the 2 cents you'll get for the 1,000 times I listened to it this year? But this was a really great one. I think probably because, and I think I've talked about this before in these reviews, I think what helps is sometimes when it's a bad movie you want to watch. And Doctor Mordrid, I heard about it at the Alamo Draft House before I saw Doctor Strange because, if you didn't know, originally when they started developing this was written as a Doctor Strange movie, and then they lost the rights and I guess changed a bunch of stuff, and then they got this, basically. It wasn't like during pre-production, apparently it was like way early on, and Jack Kirby did some character designs for it. That, I didn't know the Jack Kirby thing until right before this episode aired, but I had an interest in seeing this movie, even though I knew it wasn't good and stuff. Although I remember Alamo made it look cooler than the movie did. So I was excited. I grew up watching a bunch of just Sci-Fi Channel, and some of these B movies I do not remember where they're from. There's a chance I saw this, there's a chance I didn't. But I really had a lot of fun with this. All the stuff about the landlord, the garbage disposal joke for some reason made me laugh. All sorts of stuff like that, as well as just like their chemistry together as a cast. Emily and Kelsey and Brady as Crow, and Connor McGriffin as Servo, as well as Yvonne Frenzy as GPC2, who GPC2 has been going in the theater. I actually sort of like that. I love their chemistry together. It just works so naturally. It has that feel that I like Jonah and Barron and Hampton. It's just they have a good chemistry. They do have a good chemistry together. They just feel like more Hollywood trained, and this feels like the rough around the edges, kind of fun, good time friends hanging out that I got from the original Mike and Joel ones, and I get that so much with Emily. It's actually sort of what I've wanted from Mystery Science Theater for a long time, actually. I really wanted this, and this has been really, really great. But it was just so funny. They had such great chemistry. It reminded me of watching this movie with friends, which I probably would have done had I known the Doctor Strange connection. This might be like actually better than the TV movie of Doctor Strange, which I actually reviewed a while ago. I don't know. There's certain things about it, and there's certain things about them with this movie that worked really well when they're trying to come up with like C-list versions of their characters, of Marvel characters and things like that, which was okay. There's I think his name's Rich Black Guy on TikTok who does a really good multiverse one. But no offense to MST3K, but I thought they just did such a phenomenal job with it. And then with this, last one I talked about how I didn't watch the premiere event for Munchie, but I did with this one. And one thing, this is an interesting one because they got the screenwriter of Dr. Mordrid, C. Courtney Joyner. It was interesting. It was a good one because, you have Kelsey and Brady and Emily, and they're like total goofballs. But this guy who's talking about B-movie stuff and working on his thing, turns out he's a huge Mystery Science Theater fan. He worked on documentaries on the Shout Factory thing, which is a crazy thing. But this was such a huge treat of watching the premiere events. I don't have a lot of free time, and it's hard for me to watch anything. But I was like, oh, is it worth it? And I had heard through Facebook groups like he was on it, and that sounded interesting to me, and it really was worth it. Like, one of the things I do think about this season is I think it's a great season because you get multiple hosts, and they've made it more of an event and stuff. But they've even made it more of an event than before because they've got the screenwriter who also is a Mystery Science Theater fan, someone who made B movies, who's like, oh yes, finally they've got me, and talked about how great the show is. I have a similar sentiment about the show. I think it does help film history and does help you get into stuff. And that was amazing. Like, if you have Gizmoplex and however you're doing it, I recommend, paying or whatever to do the Doctor Mordrid premiere event thing, because it is really good, the whole thing. And they did a good job of bouncing off their energy. I think when I watched their first one, they were, such kid goofballs. I was like, when they first showed this guy up, I was like, oh, is this going to be a disaster? And it really wasn't. I mean, they were like professional people, and I'm aware of that, but they did a great job. It was interesting because first, this is apparently I learned from the Mystery Science Theater of Random, this is the first one that Jonah isn't in, other than the commercials if you watch the premiere event. So in the premiere event, he is in it, but if you didn't, then he's not. But he did direct it, so it's a stupid thing to bring up, but I guess it is sort of a thing. But it was interesting. The next one's going to be with spoilers, I guess. The next one's going to be with, not really spoilers, with Joel as the host. What I do find interesting about that is they kept saying, should we go Joel or Mike? Which I kind of, look, I know Mike's got his own thing with riff tracks and stuff. I feel like the door is open for him to come back. And look, I have Mike nostalgia too. I feel like my Joel nostalgia, that itch has been scratched many times. But Mike, like, I also like Mike Nelson. I'm a fan of all the hosts, and I kind of like, since everybody's gotten like their moment to shine or go on tour and all that stuff, I would really like Mike to come back. And when they weren't being specific, I was like, did they get him? Like, I was a little surprised that they didn't just go, we're just going to get Joel, whatever, fuck it. But that's my only hope. I'm not saying I have any insider knowledge or something. We all knew Joel was going to come back. But when they, like, wouldn't just say it, I was like, why are they doing that? Is there a reason? Maybe there isn't. Maybe there isn't. But it was just interesting playing words. I like the Cabal stuff. I find it interesting, the various hosts, that stuff. It's probably the better plotline. I never loved the sci-fi plotlines. This is infinitely better. But it makes it exciting to watch, and especially, like, this is probably the first time I've seen them pick a movie that's sort of like topical, because Doctor Strange 2 sort of came out like a month ago. But for Mystery Science Theater, this is as topical as they've ever been. I found that interesting, but I also was like, it obviously a topical choice, but like not one that made me annoyed, because I thought they had so much fun with it. Also, I think this movie is sort of watchable with the cool stop motion stuff with the dinosaur bones and everything like that. This was kind of a full package of an episode. I would say I laughed more than Munchie, but I think Munchie's too much of a classic to say this is the best episode of the season. But I'd say it's definitely second best, and it's totally up there. That, like, I don't want to say Emily has a classic this quickly out the gate, although Jonah did with Cry Wilderness. But I say, God damn, you've gotten really close. Like, this is a great episode of Mystery Science Theater with Doctor Mordrid. Emily's doing a great job, between Mother Crabber and this. This is, she is going down as one of the hosts, but I think she's going to go down as one of the great hosts, frankly, after something like this. This is such a funny episode, just seeing everything, all the New York accent things, like, hey, forget about and all that stuff, and landlord jokes and Gunner, and I'm sure I'm forgetting something. There's like too many jokes in this that, like, I just really liked. I will definitely watch this one again. If there's a bunch I want to watch again, but this is one that really stuck for me. And for some reason, I keep thinking it's 95, but it's 92 that this came out. Okay, so Doctor Mordrid came out on September 24th, 1992. Munchie came out May 15th, 1992. Although that's just in Tennessee. It was released on home video in June. So, way to bookend the summer there. Start with Munchie and with Dr. Mordrid in 1992. It is interesting to do two in a row from the 90s in there, but I think that's the last, although the next one's from 2019, so it's not that, they have newer stuff after this, but it is interesting you got two 92 ones in a row, and they're both really good episodes. Maybe 92 is the year, I don't know. Although Munchie looks like it's from the 80s and Dr. Mordrid looks like it's from 95, according to me. I don't know. Such a funny one. I almost like, I'm not good at writing down my favorite riffs, and I did like how they had the segments that were sort of tied to the Dr. Mordrid stuff, but I don't know. I'm just happy. I'm happy with all this. I'm happy with the journey. I love the premiere event with the writer of the thing, who seemed to minimize the Doctor Strange thing, but also did bring up barely that Jack Kirby was involved, but he liked like certain things that look like Jack Kirby, things like the castle in One Shot and things like that. This is a great episode of Mystery Science Theater. I think I saw Jonah was really pushing on Twitter and stuff. If you sign up for Gizmoplex, Munchie's a great place to start. I would agree with that, but I want to say if Doctor Mordrid is a movie you've always wanted to see and you're curious about the new host, I would also say Doctor Mordrid is a good episode to start with. But almost all of them, like Robot Wars is, maybe not Beyond Atlantis, but these past two are good starter episodes for the season. Although continuity, I'm sure you'll be totally lost, so whatever. So if you have seen Mystery Science Theater episode 1305, Dr. Mordrid, and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.